Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edhi vedasyama ani sthaha shrutam me ma prahasihi anena dhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmam avatu tadvaktaram avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Great. So the idea was to start a new and free course, a study group rather, than course, because course is something else. Something similar to what we do in the Gita class. Yes, we have a study group in the Gita, so we want to do it on the hymns to the mystic fire, and most probably also the whole Rig Veda. So we start with the hymns to the fire, and then we will move to other godheads, yeah, like Indra, Surya, and so on. Rudra, Vishnu, Varuna, Mitra, and Ashwins, Maruts. They are all waiting to be addressed and to be invoked and to be dealt with, to be sacrificed here in our being, to be brought and to be activated in our being, let us say, which is an equivalent to this idea of the sacrifice. The sacrifice is actually an activation of the Godheads within our framework, within our consciousness. So they take charge of part of our activity, part of our consciousness. They bring their light, their higher, deeper, more luminous light of consciousness into the action of our own activities. So that is what sacrifice is about. Making this life more sacred, as it were, sacrifice. Sacrificing means making it sacred, making charged with the higher powers of consciousness. So for that purpose, of course, Agni is the central flame. Agni is the aspiration. In nature, Agni is also flame in the heart. And as Vedic rishis would invoke Agni, that from the ancient times, Agni was approached in two different dimensions, as Yajatra, worthy of sacrifice, and Idiya, or Priya, the beloved one. So as Yajatra, it is the flame in nature, it is the heat, the aspiration of nature to become divine. So there is some hidden divinity within the nature, the immortal among mortals, yes? The universal Godhead flaming within nature, pushing everything forward to life. And that push also is projected in terms of generation or procreation, because that procreation is actually survival of the being in time, where it is impossible to survive because the mortality is so huge, the denial of life is so profound that you have to break through. And how can you break through if you cannot survive? So you survive through your progeny. This is another vision. So progeny continues the species, continues the evolution. This is the flame within the nature, the power of procreation. Shiva Lingam, that power of eternal life within the darkness, within the mortality. And there is another flame, which is much more sublime and which has to grow slowly and evolve to the extent that it becomes tangible, and that is flame within the heart. And this flame is beloved one, the one who seeks the divinity in the individual realization. So one is in nature, pushes the whole nature forward, and the other is within the individual framework, our aspiration in the heart, seeking the realization of the divine. Between these two, there is not a fundamental difference, but there is some difference. Yeah? And it's like the difference is profound in our state of kind of developmental stage of in which we are today. But in the future, these two flames will come together in the supramental realization. So in the supramental world, there is no difference between the evolutionary flame, which is growing here in nature and seeking all the betterments of nature, that survival of the fittest, whatever you call it, yes. It is the one who survives this evolution of the species, of Darwinian evolution, and the other is the spiritual evolution of the soul. And when the flame is reaching to the top, to the heaven, finally, because flame is always rising from below up, then it becomes Surya, it becomes the sun, the supramental sun. And that is the flame of the supermind. Yeah? Aurobindo says that the flame which is rising from below is also a supramental flame. Yeah? Only it is involved. So, and the supermind is kind of evolving from within. It's amazing. So it's kind of the same flame, the flame of the sun, which is here growing from within. And the Vedas found a very beautiful symbolic language explaining that there is a double sun. There is the sun above and the sun below. And this below sun, Vivasvat, from which the flame is rising, is actually the same as that above, only we have to realize it. So when we realize the sun above and below as one sun, there will be a supramental manifestation. So our consciousness is as if looking in two different directions. Yeah? We look above, we look up, and we look down. And what we find up, we find the sun. We have to rise up, 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 up to reach to the supramental sun. But when we look down, we don't see the sun, we see the darkness. But the secret of the Veda was that when you dive into the darkness, to the bottom of things, and break through that infinite rock, you will find the luminous sun hidden within the rock. So the sun is above and sun is below. We are within the sun. We are within the divinity. The whole manifestation is within him. We think he's somewhere else, we have to find him. No, we are within him, and we have to realize him here in this manifestation.
So Vladimir, I have a question. This the sun, when you say the sun below, is it from the subconscious or the inconscient realms? Where is it coming from?
Right. Inconscient is inconscient. It's a word termed, coined by Sri Aurobindo. He uses inconscient, that means involved consciousness. Like if the good image is from the black hole. If you take black hole, you see only black. Yeah? But if you enter into the black hole, you will have a luminous sun. So the gravitation is so huge there that the light is not going through. So the pressure of the darkness or the gravitational pull is so profound that the light cannot be released, as it were. So it is kept within. So this is a good image to keep in order to understand the inconscient. It is charged with consciousness, and that consciousness has to be released, as it were. So what Aurobindo was doing here, as he said, he went into the darkness and was digging into that mire, into that infinite rock, crushing Adri in the Veda. And when he drilled into that infinite rock deeper and deeper, going deeper into the impossible density of darkness, then it broke through and the light of the Supreme went through. So this is the secret of the Veda, that in the deepest darkness there is light. That's why it's called secret of the Veda. That it's not darkness, only darkness below, yes, but hidden light within the darkness. So the flame, Agni, is the son of this father hidden, the sun in the darkness. The flame is rising from the hidden sun in the darkness. So it breaks through, as it were. And that hidden sun in the darkness is many times associated with Rudra. Rudra is that divinity which carries on his shoulders the whole universe, the whole manifestation. And his son is Agni, actually. So it is that flame which is always seeking the highest realization from the deepest darkness. This is the mystic fire. Constant aspiration towards the divinity, intrinsic, enclosed in the darkness. It cannot give up. It will be breaking through and flaming out and calling to the next shore, to the higher shore of the sun, yes, that it could answer to him and they can join their efforts. And then the supramental manifestation can take place. And this is the ideal of the sacrifice. So what fire does, the fire into which we make oblation, what is this oblation or offerings we make? Is we offer everything which is dark and which is potentially carrying the divine, but is not yet the divine. So we offer to this flame to take it to heaven, so to say, and to find that connection with the true meaning of this existence here. Everything here in this world is symbolic representative of that divine prototype and has to find its divine meaning or divine purpose or divine force and consciousness. So with the flame, with this aspiration in us, this is the symbolic language, very beautiful, we can do it. We can offer to our aspiration all what we are, what we think, what we feel, what we do, all our unconscious being and unconscious actions to this flame, pour into it the offering, and he will take it and will carry it to heavens, and there it will find its divine prototype. It will change, it will transform into the divine being, because everything here is the divine, but hidden by that very inconscient. It has the surface which is unconscious, and that surface has to give up, and the inner being, the inner truth of every object and being has to shine through. But for that there is a procedure, and the procedure is the sacrifice, the offering to the flame. Today I was thinking with which hymn to start our studies. And I just looked through many hymns, and because each mandala starts with the hymn to Agni. Yes? The first hymn to Agni is, the first hymn in the Rig Veda is the hymn to Agni. And in each mandala, except mandala 9, the first section will be of all the rishis hymns to Agni, because without Agni there is no sacrifice. If we do not call, there will be no answer. Why should it answer? Why should it come down if we don't want to? And we must prepare the offering. That means we want a certain change. We have something to change and we aspire to change it. And then the answer comes. If we don't aspire to change anything, if we have nothing to offer, there will be no change. This is the freedom given to us. If you don't want to change, you don't have to. Stay where you are.
Many people don't even know that there is something to change.
Yes. Well, they don't think about it, but they are still, there is the flame constantly burning in nature, and even if it is not in their hearts, if they are not conscious of that aspiration yet, then in their nature will make them do things, even if they don't want to. This is what Krishna says in the Gita. Even if you don't think about it, you will have to do it. Yeah? You will have to wake up, to brush your teeth, to prepare the food, to eat. You will be hungry. That hunger is the fire in nature. It will push you to search for food, and with that you will make the devices better to reach it, to get it, and so to cook it. So you will be thinking how to make it better and better. This is the fire in nature. Even if person is thinking he's doing nothing, he will be doing everything what is needed by nature. But when he becomes conscious in his heart that he can join the sacrifice, he becomes a conscious co-creator of the world, so to say. He can join the creation, he can join the manifestation of the divine and be part of it. Then the whole process is speeded up. Yes? Then nature is looking for these co-creators. She wants us to join her party and to become conscious doers or workers or sacrificers, because she is doing the sacrifice constantly. Look at nature, how rich and generous she is. She gives flowers in abundance, she gives fruits, and she doesn't care that nobody is there to eat those fruits. Yeah. They fall on the ground, and she gives more and more. She always gives and gives. So, and we also have to realize that. And she needs us now to become conscious workers and invoke more the divine presence into the living creatures, into the nature, because it is the way for her to speed up the process. So she created us for that purpose. And we embodied the conscious beings in individual framework. And in this individual format, we can do work even more intensely, more independently from nature, and bring more intense light and higher light than nature could do. So we are now co-workers with nature in this sacrifice. Otherwise, if we don't want to do anything consciously, individually, we fall back into nature's lap and she will do with us. Supramental realization is decreed, as Aurobindo says. There is no way we can avoid it. Nature is doing it. Even if we are totally lazy, that fire in nature will provide everything, will make us work. We will be food for it. It will burn us, it will kill us, it will eat us up, but it will make its own progress. Makes sense? So this is the mystic fire in two formations. By the way, in the history, in the esoteric history, there was a shift from more sacrifice of nature to the sacrifice in the heart. And we see this, I spoke about this not once, but again I remind you, because there are also Purva Rishayaha, ancient rishis, first rishis, and there are Nutana Rishayah, the modern rishis of the Rig Veda. Yes? You see it in the first hymn of the Rig Veda. Yeah? Agni purvebhih rishibhih idiya nutana ruta sadevaneha vakshati. So Agni is to be worshipped by the first rishis and by the modern ones. So these ancient rishis, who are they and why they are mentioned in the Rig Veda? So already in the Rig Veda there were ancient rishis. Yeah? So it's the whole culture over thousands of years ongoing. It's not just from that time it started. It was before. By the way, in one of the hymns, it is even mentioned that Prathamacha Davarana Vivesha. So the Rishi invoked the forefathers, the rishis, and so the rishis closed the previous stage and opened to the next. There was some kind of hiding away the previous ancient culture from us. Yeah? So we know about this culture only from the Rigvedic times, but in the Rigveda itself it is mentioned that there was a previous stage, very ancient stage, and those verses were called Nivid, and very archaic verses with very archaic language. These quotations are here and there, you find them in the Rigveda as references to the very archaic rishis. And it looks like that they are kind of developing the system on the ground of those archaic statements. There are very ancient rishis like Gotama, Rahugana, or Dirghatama, Uchatya, these are, or Agastya Rishi, Maitravāruni, or Vasishtha. These are first original rishis, yes, which are who are there from the beginning of time. And today in my classroom on Sanskrit, I was mentioning that Riksha is the bear, and Riksha is this white or this big bear constellation with 7 stars. These are the 7 rishis, Purva Rishaya, yeah? Which are pointing to the Dhruvam, to the polar star around which the whole galaxy rotates. Yeah? So these 7 rishis, Rik Sach, it's actually the one who carries Rig Veda, the flaming word. And that's why it is a Riksha. Riksha is those 7 rishis, and that's how it became bear, and that's why we call Arctica, Arctus in Greek is the bear, because it is that Arctica in the north. So those 7 rishis, you see, they're all is connected to the Rig Veda and to the beginning of the rishis. And it is believed that these rishis are our forefathers or ancestors who brought the first knowledge from the beginning of Kalpa to each Manvantara. Each Manvantara starts with a set of rishis coming down and bringing this knowledge of the Veda. Because knowledge of the Veda is the fundamental knowledge of manifestation of the divine. So the divine is to be manifested in this material world, and that knowledge is to be remembered, has to be followed by humanity. So this is kind of a memory or the action plan of group soul of humanity. Every time humanity is born, these rishis bring our vision plan of what we are here to do in terms of the Veda. Veda is that knowledge for group soul, for humanity to follow. They should not forget what they are here for. So we should remember this, that we are here for transformation, for manifestation of the divine. This is our purpose, meaning of our lives. The rest is just instrumental to it. Whatever we think is important is just instrumental to this. Becomes, you can breathe again. You can feel, oh God, finally I found the meaning of my life. Otherwise, what for do we live? We don't live for just getting pleasure out of life, squashing everything. Pleasure is actually interesting thing also. It has a divine prototype. It is the divine Ananda, which is hiding behind every thing, every being, and has to be recovered and offered to the higher consciousness. And this is Soma sacrifice. Soma is that essential delight in things which has to be distilled, pressed out, distilled, purified. And the quintessential delight, it should not be taken by us, by egoistic beings, but offered to non-egoistic entities in us, luminous consciousness in us, for it to grow within this manifestation. So this was the ancient way of the sacrifice that Purva Rishayaha were doing by the means of nature. So they took nature, everything what nature gives, found the delight in it, purified it, and offered it to the higher consciousness. They were pouring it into the flame, and the flame grew from the ghee, from the ghritam, from this clarified butter, or from the soma. If you pour alcohol into fire, fire will grow, will burn better. So these are the physical symbols of that inner movement where we have to find the quintessential delight, intoxication by the wine, the alcohol. This is the physical equivalent of that intoxication of consciousness, yes? Which is inspiring us, which gives us spirit. Why spirit is called alcohol spirit? It's interesting. Because it is inspiring us. Yeah? It gives us more spirit to be courageous, to grow, to flame, to live, to be happy, to be mad with luminous wine, as Aurobindo says in Savitri, mad with luminous wine. This luminous wine is that delight of existence, which we have to distill to press out from this darkened existence, and it is hiding everywhere. We have to find it there and offer it to this higher consciousness and flame in us. This was the ancient way. So by the means of nature, we can find the delight in it and offer it to the higher consciousness, which will grow and will burn everything and will become divine. So this was the sacrifice by the means of nature, where the pouring to the fire were made by ghee, soma, the bodies were sacrificed. What is sacrificed by the animals, when the animals are given to the fire, or even Purusha, the body of man, is a symbolic vision of when I give my nature to the divine in me, then I change into the divine being. And then there was a shift. The shift towards a new discovery of the flame in the heart. And so the offering, the sacrifices of nature So by the means of nature to discover the divine was drifted away towards the love for the divine, the flame in the heart. So by this power of love in the heart, the divine could be invoked and could come down. It could change our nature from above, as it were, not from below, but from above. We find this shift in many religions in the world. We find it in the Bible, where Abraham tries to offer his son to the divine. You remember he tied him to the stone and already ready to kill him, where he hears the voice, I don't want the body, the nature of your son. I need the lamb, pure lamb. And lamb is the symbol of the psychic being. So there was a shift in the cult of the Purusha sacrifice towards the cult of the love, bhakti, devotion, which actually changed the whole tapestry of relations, because in the ancient vision, those ancient gods, yes, changed, like Varuna, Mitra, Yaman. These are the ancient gods, yes, Rudra. And then there was a shift towards the new gods. New gods came into being, like Indra. Even Agni, which was ancient Agni, was treated as a new Agni, the flame in the heart. And Mother says that the Rishi discovered this flame in the heart. They didn't know about him. They knew about the flame in nature. And they were doing those ancient sacrifices of Soma yagas. So Aurobindo speaks also about two types of Rishi, Bhrigu, Bhargavas, and Angiras rishis. These are two clans of rishis. So Bhrigus, Bhargavas belong to the ancient rishis of Soma yagas, of sacrificing the delight of existence to the flame, whereas new rishis came later. Angiras means those sparks, or those, flames of Agni, which brought new gods with them. New gods were born. Indra is a new god. It is that lightning from above to the call from below. So this shifting towards the love and towards devotion and towards invocation took place. Before, it was more of the doing, more of the nature efforts. So by the means of nature, we could discover the divine. Here, by the means of the divine, we discover the divine. So it was done differently. So you can love the divine, and by that love, you can get everything from the divine, all the transformation. So we can see that beginning of psychic entity, the psychic being was born, so to say. The flame in the heart was discovered. And that's when Satprem asks the mother about psychic being. Was there psychic being in the Veda? She tells him in his notes, he writes about this, no, that there was no psychic being in the Veda, in the Rig Veda, because this is a totally new shift of more individualistic approach to the transformation. And we have in the Rig Veda more universal vision of what is happening. Yes? The whole idea of a manifestation of the divine by the means of nature, by the flame within the nature, as a universal Godhead. So, and that's why we have the whole Bhakti movement coming much later, in India also. Chaitanya, Kabir, Tulsidas, Ramdas, Mirabai, all of them are coming later, and they bring this divinity, this love for the divine, and it becomes the major drive from that time on. So the psychic being was not known, well known in the Vedic tradition. Vedic rishis speak about the him as a flame in the heart because they discovered him, but it wasn't a major, so to say, religion. Major religion was still Shaiva in a sense, that ancient sacrifice by the means of nature offerings. I hope I am not confusing you with all these stories. Most probably already you're thinking, what is he talking about?
No, it's very interesting to know the source.
In esoteric history, it is known that Rama was first who brought the psychic influence, the love towards your father, your wife, your brothers. We don't have that love issue anywhere before Ramayana. We don't have it in Upanishads, we don't have it in the Vedas. Nobody speaks about love as a driving force. Only from Ramayana's time, which is very ancient time, by the way, but still there is this appearance of love. He loves his father, he loves his mother, he loves his wife, his brothers. You remember how Rama loved and how everybody loved Rama. It was all about love. The whole Ramayana is about love. That is that psychic presence in the heart. Yeah.
The devotion of Hanuman.
Devotion of Hanuman, incredible, yes. And everyone else, you will see. And there is this Ravana, who is Bhakta of Shiva, notice. No love. Huh? No love at all. So there is love and no love. And he takes Sita away from love to no love, to the order of the before time. It was prehistoric times, and he tries to make her part of his prehistoric cult, so to say. By the way, this Vishnu and Shiva, this is a good topic also. Vishnu brings these new gods. Yeah? Though Vishnu is the ancient god, still he activates a totally new formation of this devotion. Krishna, Rama, these are all avatars of Vishnu. Yes, Krishna is born boy, Rama also. They grow, they become prince, they learn. Shiva was never born a boy. Nobody knows Shiva as a boy. He was always an adult. But what is interesting that this devotion comes because Vishnu is the one who supports the psychic from above. This is this connection. And Shiva is that energy which is rising from below and pushing the whole evolution forward with his Agni. So between this Shiva and Vishnu is a constant ongoing rivalry, in even fight, wars. In Puranas they are described as war, the war between Shiva and Vishnu. It goes on for 1,000 years, and they are exhausted. Nobody can win. What is this war, the symbol of this war, about? It is about these two cults. The cult of the previous cult of Shiva Lingam, of of Kundalini Shakti. It is all Shaiva. Yeah? Kundalini Shakti is the divinity hidden within nature, which is unfolding and changing nature from within. Yeah? This is the sexual energy. The sexual energy is that power which pushes forward the whole evolution I was speaking about. Yeah? And from the other side, we have this flame in the heart, which is absolutely not sexual power, not that push. It's a conscious flame, love for the divine, the choice of individual to seek the divine manifestation. And between these two loves, one is sexual love drive in nature, and the other is the flame in the heart. Mother says there is an abyss. They don't come easily together. The love in the heart and the love in the nature as a sexual love, are two different drives. This is the biggest problem of our existence, psychological problem. We never could totally reconcile between the two. Interesting, yeah? Oh, there is more to say here. But Aurobindo says that he doesn't want to speak on that drive from within, from below, because he says you will not understand. Somebody asks him in the evening talks, what would be the future of the sexuality? He says, I will not tell you because you will not understand. So this drive, this flame in the supramental manifestation, as I understand, I will share you my understanding, will join finally. There will be no more gap, no more abyss between the love and the drive in nature. They will become, so the being will become immortal. That gap is needed. It's like above and below sun, and that is the gap. And once they cross the gap, there will be no more difference between love and drive of the being and pleasure. There will be no difference between love and pleasure. So the pleasure in nature and love in the heart will join. Many people think that it is one and the same drive. In the highest sense, in the supramental sense, it is one and the same, but it is not in this manifestation. And that's the whole problematics of our life. We never can find love in that sense.
Yeah. That's why there is death, because of the sexual hunger and the sexual drive is associated with dying every time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Loss of the ojas.
Yeah, and there is a reason for it, because it's a sacrifice of Purusha. Yes, Purusha is giving his life to his progeny, to his offspring. He gives away his very quintessential being, and this is the step towards death. He has to die in order for next to live. So there is this symbolism of the sacrifice. This is the sacrifice of the Purusha, of nature. Constantly dying in order to live, perpetual life by dying. So the form is changing into another form. One is eating the other. One consumes the other form in order to be consumed by the other form, in order to change, constant change of form and preservation of energy. This is the ongoing fire within nature, transmuting, transforming it, making it more and more suitable for the divine purpose. We don't see it. We see it as if fire consumes and it's gone. No, it's not gone. It's just transformed into another form, and again into another form. And the preservation of energy, the law of preservation of energy, tells us that energy doesn't go anywhere. It just takes another shape. So this is the means of this sacrifice by nature. Good, we came to it. So we have to dwell on it longer, unfortunately longer, that to kind of to unfold all the nitty-gritties about it, so to understand deeper. And this flame in the heart is totally of different nature. It's that spark of that fire which is within the nature, but it becomes the center of awareness, individual awareness, and around it there slowly grows consciousness of a long evolutionary period, which becomes a being, psychic being growing from within. And that psychic being represents the Supreme. He wanted to be many. That was his purpose. He wanted to be individual. And this is how he achieved it. That spark started to become more and more individualized until it is totally formed and ready to come to the front. And once it is individualized and formed, it demands its part in the mind, vital and physical. It bridges from within to the without and starts influencing the mind, the thoughts. We start thinking about it. We start feeling something strange. We start being differently in the body. Body becomes subtle and responds to different movements of the higher consciousness. And slowly, by that bridging, it reaches to the front and takes charge of all our surface nature. This is the psychic transformation. That flame reaches to the surface and rules our mind, our feelings and emotions, and even our body. We don't live anymore for the sake of pleasure. We live for the sake of the divine. So this is the faster way of transformation. Now in the Rig Veda, if I come back to the Rig Veda, we have to see that these new gods who came with this awakening in the heart, they work for this heart, Yajamana. This is Yajamana, the one conscious individual being who is constantly offering everything he has to the divinity within him. And these new gods were called gods. They were, Brihaspati was a new god, by the way. Brihaspati is that flame, that word, who represents all the Angirasa rishis. The 7 flames, 7 tongues of Brihaspati are the 7 rishis, 7 new rishis, notice. And he is becoming the head of the gods, of new gods, of Indra. Indra is his student. He leads all the gods, Maruts, Indra, Ashwins, Vishvedevas, all these devatas, Vasus. He is in charge of them because he will lead them to this transformation in his way of the mantra, of the devotion from the heart, of the word expressing the devotion. Not through the sacrifice, not through the burning of the body, but through the invocation and love, through the word. So on one side, Brihaspati, with the new gods. On the other side, Shukracharya, Bhargava, he is Bhargava, belonging to the ancient rishis. He is also the divine, but Venus and Jupiter, you see it in the Shukracharya and Brihaspati. This is the dilemma we have within our being. One is seeking the pleasure and divinization in nature, other seeking the divine from the heart and love and devotion. So in that moment, in that shift, what happened in the Rig Veda, that those ancient gods were called Asuras. That's what... Huh?
Why were they asuras?
Asura actually doesn't have negative connotation in the Rig Veda. Asura means a great and mighty being who possesses power of existence. Later it becomes very negative. Later in the devotion towards new gods, these ancient gods lose their grip, lose their devotion. People are not dedicated to them, to the Purusha sacrifice, to the nature sacrifice. They are more oriented towards heart, towards flame, towards invocation. And so these gods, so to say, of nature become kind of are put in opposition to these other new gods, as it were. Yeah? And Rudra, notice, he is very much, he understands these ancient asuras and gods and demons. He is very merciful to them. he's notice how he, if you know the literature a bit, you will see that it's always a surprise why Rudra is so in favor for Shukracharya. Shukracharya is exactly that whom he is gobbled and whom he released as Shukra. So basically he is in charge of those ancient gods. He understands their pains. And, when they are churning of the ocean, so on one side asuras, on the other side gods, these asuras are actually those ancient gods which are needed for this Amrita to be released. These two centers are fundamental centers of our creation, and both are needed. Amazing, if you think of it. So we are dealing with symbolic language, which is difficult to deconstruct in the psychological terms, but we can do it. It's actually there. This meaning is hidden there behind it. So today was kind of introductory kind of overview of what is this Agni about, and two types of Agni. One, flame in the heart, other, flame in nature, the sexual energy and the love energy in the heart. And Mother says between these two loves there is the abyss, the love, psychic love for the divine, and that sexual drive, abyss. They are not of the same energy. And we can understand immediately the difference between the sexual drive in nature. There is no love of some kind of psychic love between animals. They have to procreate. There is a drive, there is a need, there is a time for it, and they procreate. The nature makes them do it. And it's not because he is fond of his, of course they have to be fond of, mainly the female has to choose the male. Yes, so female is allowing or not. So she's interestingly choosing the type she needs for the procreation. She's the mother, she knows what she needs, what kind of male she needs, because she will be, she's selecting for the future. She's carrying the future in a way. It's amazing. If you start analyzing the nature from this perspective, you will see how wise nature is, in all this kind of arrangements which are made for it to continue and to grow in consciousness until human beings are coming, and finally this flame can be lit and the psychic being can be born, and the whole process of evolution can be speeded up. Okay, I stop here. If you have some questions or overviews or some ideas, please share.
So, Vladimir, that's why there is always a fight between the gods and the asuras, right? This is the fight that's always going on.
Absolutely. And Shiva and Vishnu, and they exhausted and they stopped the fight because they knew nobody can win. This is important. Neither Shiva nor Vishnu can win. These two cults coexist. These two energies coexist within our own psychological living. We have both. We have this devotion. I must share with you something interesting, but which is more kind of personal, but it was interesting. When first time I fell in love, I was 16. I met the girl whom I was in love totally with, but I had no desire at all. I was so madly in love. It was so good to be in her presence, even without her, just to sit in the park and think about her. It was so delightful. Nothing was needed, no drive, no need of some kind of procreation. I even was wondering why it is not there. It doesn't come at all. So that flame, that heart love, was blocking it away totally, was not even allowing it to come close to it. And I was thinking, maybe I'm something wrong with me. Usually people say this is love, and that was not love at all. So this was the heart love. That love is totally different. Marriage, things, people, procreation, don't have to love. You just have to do it. To do it to produce children. And that's how people live, usually. Many of them, at least. It's very rare that you have both. And I noticed that this flame may go away with that flame, lower flame kindled, slowly fade away, not become more interesting, unfortunate. So I can confirm what Mother says. There is an abyss between the two. You have to choose between the two.
That's why there are eventually problems in the relationships, no? That initially it's all very nice and good and people are enjoying, but then it just changes, the dynamic changes. And
yeah, this is the lower flame is selfish. It's always selfish. It's like you have to receive some joy, enjoyment, pleasure. And this flame doesn't need pleasure. It is by flaming, it is creating so much bliss and ananda and joy that the more you love, the more you want to love. Yeah? So it is totally different from the lower flame. So that's the psychological difference.
so rejecting the lower flame is that is not the option, right? How does one?
Well, you see all the religions, they do this, brahmacharya. Why? Because that flame actually obstructs to a certain extent this flame from the heart. Yeah, it's you most probably noticed in your life, if you had this dilemma. I noticed it in my life very much, that one is blocking the other. One is kind of destroying something within you that you can't easily come back. You need to make an effort, or it kind of can be also seen as that you have to start again from zero, as it were. You have to again to kindle, or you have to again come back to that devotion, and you hate yourself for kindling the lower light. Every time you feel that you just you lost this touch. Yeah? At the beginning it is like this. Later it is not like that anymore. So to say, you kind of find reconciliation between the two, and later you just lose all interest in the lower flame. Yeah, altogether. So, and you can't come back because it doesn't do anything really. It just destroys your devotion or your true sense of presence, and so that's what happens. To some people. I'm not speaking about all. I'm not speaking about you, Prito. You have to live your life, you have to marry, so please go ahead and do what you have to do. Great, okay, we can stop here. And so this was the two flames, Agni, and we will see them all the time in the Rig Veda. I will be pointing out and you will see that Bhargavas, especially Bhrigu Rishis, they will be always speaking about this flame in nature, and Angirasa Rishis will be speaking about the flame in the heart mainly. It's quite interesting. It will be visible in the Rig Veda. All right, okay, so I close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you.